Okay, I wanted to mention a few things before we start our meeting with the apostle. So it's Elder Stevenson tonight. We're hoping Elder Stevenson actually makes it. We've had 3 no-shows so far, but I'm hearing great things about Elder Stevenson. Wait, are you Elder Stevenson? Okay, it's not him. I thought it was you in jogging clothes, Elder Stevenson. Okay, I want to mention a couple of interesting things. First of all, this fast was originally just going to be me, and people keep joining in. So right now there are 9 of us that are fasting. 1 for 2 days, this coming Thursday and Friday, 1 for 1 week, and the other ones are saying they're going to try to fast for as long as I fast. Well, I had a month worth of preparation for this. You guys are going into it with 0 preparation, so I just wish you the best. Take care of yourselves, hydrate yourselves, make sure you're getting the vitamins and minerals that you should be getting. But how amazing is that? People are, besides me, want to be super vested in helping protect our children. And then get this, next Sunday, Tara Workman Tully. I'd never heard of Tara Workman Tully until today, but I got her name on my brain now because I'm going to see her probably about, I don't know, 50 times next Sunday, this coming Sunday. This coming Sunday, Tara Workman Tully is going to run 50 miles around the temple wall, around the temple Square. 50 miles? Okay, I don't know how many turns that is around the mile, because if it's a mile around it, then we're going to talk about 50 times. I don't know how long that takes. How long does it take to run 50 miles?
One of the listeners can maybe do the math of how many times around the block.
Okay, if somebody can tell us how long that is, great. How many laps or how many hours that is to run it. That is just amazing that she's doing that to bring awareness to this. So our action is called Hunger Strike and Spotlight. I'm doing the Hunger Strike, and now 8 other people, but people are doing amazing things to put a spotlight on it. Doing a 50-mile run. I just am blown away by that. We're continuing to see lots of people share, lots of people write stuff on their own. We're having people write the apostles. We're having people talk to their bishops, talk to their stake presidents, talk to their family and friends. Keep doing that if you haven't done that. Look for a way that you can be a hero with the rest of us not attempting. We are going to save children. We are going to protect the children, period, regardless of whether or not a change is made. I'm going to read something that was shared with me recently that highlights why we have to get rid of this policy. Here's the message. My husband's 15-year-old son committed suicide the day after a bishop's interview. So when people say it doesn't happen, it does. The bishop had interrogated him over some morality issues. He killed himself the next day with a note inside the miracle of forgiveness the bishop had given him. Bishops are not counselors and should not be doing this. What a great tragedy. How many kids have committed suicide over this? Excuse me, how many kids have died by suicide? We should not even be talking about this. It should never happen again. The bishop, the poor bishop, who is trying to do something good, trying to follow the direction of the church, will have to live with this the rest of his life. The parents whose children attempted suicide will bear a burden the rest of their life if they were supportive of that child participating in one-on-one shaming interviews. Don't be one of those parents. Don't be a parent that something horrid happens to your child one-on-one, behind a closed door, and you have to live with the rest of your life. Do not take that chance. Do not allow any of your children to be alone behind closed doors. Enough is enough. Okay, we are going to now, Sue, Juan, John, you are going to, now wait, John, you're going to give him some chocolate? Is that, you got, okay, at this point in time, we are going to have the changing of the day. Should I move?
I'm no artist.
That's perfect. Let me just say, that is the best artistry I've ever seen from a chocolate maker. Okay, so I just started my 6th day of fasting. 6 days and counting. Not only am I fasting, but 6 days and counting of continuing to see our children go behind closed doors, one-on-one, to be subjected to shaming sexual questions. Don't let this go on another day. What are you smiling at, Natasha? Aha. Well, thank you. So a couple of days ago, the church responded to what I'm doing. I thought, how cool is that? The church is paying attention. But I want to read the amazingly wonderful statement they made. So good for you, my church, my Mormon church, my LDS church, for putting out this amazing statement. Here's their statement. This was put out by the Mormon Newsroom. It's on the Mormon Newsroom if you want to go pull it up. But it says this: children and youth are precious. Hallelujah. We are on the same page on that. Yes, children and youth are precious. That's why I am doing what I'm doing. That's why tens of thousands of us are doing what we're doing. Children and youth are precious. We share a desire to protect them, to help them grow and develop faith in the Savior Jesus Christ, and to live good and moral lives. Hallelujah. They said we share that. Yes, we share that together. This includes building good relationships with ecclesiastical and youth leaders who can provide support in many settings, including personal interviews. So we totally agree on that one until we get to personal interviews, because we haven't put the proper definition on that. But still, most of that is pretty good. But now listen to this. In recent months, the church has taken important steps to improve these interactions and to strengthen the relationships between young people and their parents and leaders. And I'll come back to the "and" in just a second. So they're highlighting that they have taken steps in the recent months. They have been listening. The apostles, maybe they haven't shown up here yet, but our cause has been discussed amongst the 12 apostles, with the 12 apostles, and sure enough, they have made changes in the recent months that are good changes. And, oh geez, I gotta love this. And, let's see, we've taken important steps to improve these interactions and to strengthen the relationship between young people and their parents and leaders, and we'll continue to do so. We'll continue to do so. There are more changes to come. They're not saying we're done. This is the absolute doctrine policy that the church is going to have to live with. No. They're saying they're going to continue to make changes. So we're calling on 3 levels, 3 groups of people. 1, the apostles, to make a change. I firmly believe, and this confirms it, that the apostles have already received the revelation to fully protect our children, like every other church has. They've received the revelation. At least we know some. They have received some revelations. I believe they received the whole kit and caboodle to protect our kids. So with this hunger strike, with this spotlight, hopefully you can see the spotlight that we are ready as a Mormon people to receive the revelation that you've got. We're asking you to make the changes now. Don't wait any longer. Every day that calendar goes up, 6 days, more shaming, more risks, more grooming. Starting today, make the change. There should be no more shaming. No more suicide, for heaven's sakes. There should be no more suicide, no more suicide attempts, no more suicide ideation that comes out of this shame. Let's make the change now. You've already got the revelation. Enough is enough. These are our children. Okay. So, what time is it now? 7:10. Well, so now I've been advised to try to face the camera most of the time, so I'm going to try that. Except now I'm going to ask if anybody has anything they'd like to bring up. So, Elder Stevenson, do we have anybody that would like to address Elder Stevenson? Melody. Okay, so I'm going to be asking this time and time again if you have a question or a comment or a statement. Now we want to focus it completely on the interviews with the children. We don't want to get off on anything else, just the issue with our children. Okay, Melody.
Okay, are we allowed to say anything about a past issue?
Of course. Well, it's about the bishop's interviews.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That's what this is all about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Elder Stevenson.
Elder Stevenson, and let me just mention this too. Melody was one of our 15 ambassadors when we conducted our march, and I appreciate you doing that very much. So, whose book did you deliver?
I believe it was Christofferson.
Elder Christofferson. Oh my goodness. Well, he's the one. Look what you did. Look what you did, Melody. It was your book that got read. Okay, Elder Christofferson is the one that has said he read all the stories and they're tragic. We can learn things from this and changes are coming. And they've just announced again, more changes are on the way. So thank you. Thank you for getting him to read that book, Melody. Okay, you're up.
Thank you. Okay, first thanks to Sam. My heart it goes out to what you're doing, and I know you said focus on the children, so that's what I'm trying to do. I just want to say, okay, so first of all, I read a book years ago by Ed Smart where he talked about his battle with his daughter, Elizabeth Smart. Now, before they found Elizabeth, her sister had been traumatized, and they were told how important it was to not ask her any questions because it could mess up her ability to remember. Well, we all learned from that experience, it was absolutely true. He protected that little girl and he did not allow questions. So then Elizabeth was found. Well, it turns out Elizabeth was in the police station after she was found, and he was told by a friend who was in the psychiatric business, you need to get your daughter out of there because questioning that's not trained can do permanent damage. This is from his book, Bringing Elizabeth Home. He went into the police station and he said, give me my daughter. And they said, well, we need to question her. And he said, give me my daughter. And they said, well, sir, Mr. Smart, we need to question her. And he pounded his fists in rage on the desks and said, give me my daughter now. Now, that has paid off for him. The reason I say that is because you never know as a bishop, when you have a child in your office, and believe me, there's such a large percentage, a low guesstimate is 33% of the population is sexually abused, that you don't know about when you bring these children into your office. I was one of them. So when I was 11, I was kidnapped. When I was 12, my mom married my kidnapper without knowing because I was threatened to not tell, and I didn't. At 14, I was pulled out of class and taken to a bishop's office, and I was terrified. I knew what it meant to be taken alone with a man. I was terrified. He asked me if I touched myself, and I was terrified some more. I had never received any therapy or anything for the sexual abuse I was experiencing at home. I was in a raw condition to be asked such questions, and it did traumatize me. I felt dirty, I felt scared, and I just answered honestly because I didn't want to tell God a lie on top of everything else. Then when I told him the truth, he said, well, usually girls who touch themselves are also touching other girls. You need to tell me about that. And I said, no, I haven't. I was appalled. And he said, no, you know, you need to tell me. And he kept on and kept on and kept on. And I kept saying, no, 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 I didn't. Well, by the time I left his office, I was freaked out. I felt dirty. I wanted to go home. I never wanted to come back. But that doesn't even stop there. I'm going to really quickly, because I don't want to take up all the time, but I do want to say if it's okay. If it's okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
I then got the courage to tell a bishop about my stepfather. How that ended up was he brought me in, sat me across from my stepfather, and said to me, Melody, can you try harder to get along with your stepfather? And I swear to you, these are true stories. I'm still in therapy. He said, it's really bad to break up a home and a family. And he said, can you just try again, try harder? Your stepfather's promised me he's going to go to church every Sunday. And so I just want you to work on this. Well, in my little heart, I took that to mean I was 14. I thought I was to blame for part of it. Also, I took it on my shoulders to make it work. So I have my diary still from where I wrote how hard I was trying to make it work and make it work and make it work, and it wasn't working. Finally, at 16, I got pregnant, and I was taken by a girlfriend to Planned Parenthood, where they showed me some seeds and said, we'll just take these out, get your mom to sign. My mom signed. So we all know how that ended. And I thought really nothing of it until a couple years later, when I was again pulled into a bishop's office and asked about my everything. And when that came up, I didn't think that much of it. I thought the sexual stuff was worse, and he proceeded to spend an hour and a half tearing me from limb to limb. I didn't tell him about the abuse. He was a different bishop, but he was telling me how I was a murderer and that the church might forgive me, but they didn't know if God would ever forgive me. So I was then, it was like he wanted to make sure I knew that I was a murderer. He said, you don't seem to know how bad what you did is. And I didn't. And so, but I did after that. And so I just want to say, okay, what's behind me is behind me. I can't fix any of that. I suffered torment my whole life, feeling like I was worthless, unworthy. I didn't go to church after that. I looked for love in all the wrong places anyway. I take responsibility for the mistakes that are mine. However, I should never have been asked those questions. I never should have been behind those closed doors. And my plea is that, okay, I'm not the only one with this kind of story. Read the stories. There's 1,000 of them. And I just saw my therapist today, and she said, Melody, I have 4 patients right now I'm seeing just like you, who were told by their bishops, don't break up your family when they told that they were having sexual abuse at home, okay? So this is not a light problem. Sam's brought attention to this for a very good reason. It's a huge problem. It really does destroy lives. This isn't just a case of going in behind and getting uncomfortable, and kids need to learn to be uncomfortable, okay? These are destroyed lives we're talking about, okay? And that's all I have to say, and I plead with you to hear me if you're listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. So Melody, just a sec. You and everybody else that has been harmed by our church, by the bishops that are really bad bishops, but also by the bishop that have been harmed by the innocent bishops that did this inadvertently. I just want to say you are deserved an apology for this. The apostles should be apologizing for the church. Now, I'm not an apostle. I'm a high priest. I'm a bishop. Well, I hope that's not coming after us. Well, last night somebody called the police on us. Fire truck. Fire truck. Oh, jeez. It could be an escort for Elder Stevenson. Escort. I'm going for an escort. Okay, the impromptu of having a street side meeting. Okay, I don't have any authority in the church except I'm a high priest and I'm a bishop and I'm a human being that sees when people suffer and it makes me hurt. So I'm going to apologize to you. What happened to you happened while I'm an active member of the church, but it happened before I understood any of this stuff. I wish I'd known about it before it happened to you. And we could have held our march and held our hunger strike and you participate in the spotlight before this ever happened. But I'm sorry it happened to you. It was wrong. I apologize on behalf of everybody that is working to make these changes. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
God, that is horrific.
You want to say something, right?
How can you tell?
Okay, Natasha.
I do want to say something. I just want to thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that with all of us. And so yesterday I got a message from what I would consider,
Now you look at this.
an older friend on our thread saying that what we're doing here is despicable and demonizing of our church leaders. And that story is what's despicable about our system. And so this isn't about us trying to demonize church leaders or about us trying to, get attention or I don't know. There's so many different critiques, I guess, out there. As a mental health professional that has worked with primarily a Mormon clientele my whole career, I've sat next to people like this wonderful woman who I've gotten to know personally as well a little bit, and heard story after story after story. And the reason why I no longer say things like, well, the church is just full of imperfect people, is because I was imperfect too, like you, before I knew these things were happening in my own backyard. But as soon as I started hearing them, and especially as soon as I heard them over and over and over and over again, wow, I had to shift because this wasn't in congruence with my ideas of what I'd been taught as a Mormon woman about a relationship with God, about a relationship with leadership, about a relationship with my own spirituality. And I know that these men that we're inviting here have heard Hunt's story after story after story before we gave them the books, because they've been in trainings, they've been across people's stories, and so I cannot, in good conscience, allow that to go unaccounted for. Because if you've never heard this story, okay, you have to hear the story, but you have heard the stories. You have heard the stories. And you're not shifting in ways that we know are backed up by mental health standards of care, that we know are backed up by great evidence and research, that we know are backed up by trauma-informed care. And that to me starts becoming in of itself despicable. And I don't want to think of you, my leaders, as despicable people. I want to have faith and trust that you want to do the right thing. And I think that's what we're here to ask you to do, and what people are having to be extremely vulnerable about very private aspects of their life to gain the type of attention that we need to change things. That I find despicable. It shouldn't take that. And we will continue to share the stories until things change, because we can't allow this type of abuse to continue. And it is emotional abuse. It's traumatic, and it's spiritual abuse, and it's even sexual abuse. It's all of those things that we do, whether intentionally or unintentionally, through systems that are led by people who should know better. That's what I want to say.
So, yeah, thank you very much, my wonderful expert friend, intelligent, articulate friend.
You, Sam.
Okay, so, oh darn, now I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Well,
Sheesh.
I've been telling you that as you stop eating, this may happen more often.
Oh, that happened to me way before I stopped eating.
Well, all right, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, I can't remember what I was going to say, but thank you very much, Natasha.
All right, thank you, Sam.
Okay, somebody else would like to have a question or make a comment? Anybody over there with a comment or a question?
I do.
Yes? No?
Somebody.
Okay. So, Natasha mentioned that somebody had called what we're doing despicable. That we're making our leaders look despicable. Well, I think what's happening is what we're doing. I don't want to make them look despicable. I don't think these are good men that are going to receive a revelation or have received a revelation. But as we continue this practice, the longer we continue this practice, people outside of the church, people that have left the church, they are going to start looking at our apostles as being despicable, that they're allowing this to continue. So if you don't want our apostles to look ridiculous, to look out of touch, put a spotlight on what we're doing.
Like that,
Okay.
I hear you, I know you're a member, I used to be a member. Active member, and I respect that. If it works for you, that's great. But let me just say this as a former member who, I don't worry about them being called despicable. Their actions, for me, are despicable right now. There are so many people hurting. There are too many people that have been abused. There are hundreds, thousands of stories. There are voiceless people that are not talking. And we're concerned about how an apostle looks because they are so prideful they can't come down here to talk to you, that after a march, after they asked us to not touch their building, when they should have been saying, you know what, let's worry about the kids not being touched. Let's go find out what these people are here for. Let's go find out what matters to the hearts of these human beings. When they want to do that, I will see they're good. But right now, I am a person on the street that has children that can be harmed, that has friends with children that have been harmed, that have adult friends that have been completely obliterated by being abused, being harmed, being chastised and shamed. So I'm not worried about how they feel today. I'm worried about the fact that change isn't imminent because they don't want to do anything. They want to pretend it away.
They'll continue to do so. They'll continue to make changes.
It doesn't matter. The changes they're making don't help us enough until we get rid of this practice. We are the only church. And I say we because I was part of it, so I understand the inner linings of the church. I'm not somebody who's just coming in going, I hate the church. That's not my issue. I don't hate the church. I chose to leave it because truth changed for me. But I do have, you don't leave people on a battlefield when they're wounded. You take care of everybody. And I would hope that apostles could see that and care about that as well. And so I am going to be the critic of that, saying, you guys, this is a great human being with a great cause. Let's back him.
let's get some answers. Let's get a round table. Let's change things because people deserve happiness.
Yeah, you've got tons of great ideas, Sue. I wish we could start implementing them. But we're moving to get this thing changed. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I think Natasha mentioned psychological abuse. Did you say that? Okay, that is what I wanted to mention. You know, President Thomas Monson is ahead of the curve here. Unfortunately, he passed away. But he gave a talk a few years ago about that very thing, psychological abuse. Psychological abuse. Fussing at, I don't know, fussing at the church, but saying that psychological abuse is every bit as bad as actual sexual abuse. He understood this concept. Members, it's right there in front of us. Let's step up to the plate. Psychological abuse of our children is occurring day in, day out behind those closed doors. Okay, somebody else raised their hand with a piece of chocolate in it? No. Did you? You didn't. Okay. So what time is it? 7:30. Okay. Well, I don't want to cut our meeting too short because there's always the possibility that another siren is going to start going off, and it will be the escort for Elder Stevenson.
Can I ask a question on behalf of somebody on the internet?
Oh yes, and other questions on the internet.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so this is so I'm gonna be reading this for a friend of mine. Not sure if she wants me to say her name or not, so I'm not going to do that just yet. But
okay.
You know her as well, so. Okay, so I have no idea what she's going to say, so I'm just going to read this. All right, in my very first worthiness interview at 7 years old, my bishop sat me in front of him on his bishop's desk and raped me. He intentionally forced my child body to climax and then told me that the physiological reaction I couldn't stop myself from having was shameful, a sin. It will be a small percentage of bishops who are sick in the way he was sick and who will hurt children as intentionally as he hurt me. I know this. And for the next 20 years, 4 wards and 7 bishops, not a single worthiness interview. Shoot. Sorry. Don't write me because then it'll interrupt my thing. She's writing me. For the next 20 years, 4 wards and 7 bishops, not a single worthiness interview that I had after that first one ever refuted what he taught me about who the shame for that abuse belonged to. In fact, 20 years, 4 wards, and 7 bishops worth of worthiness interviews cemented instead the lesson that I was unworthy, as in without worth, worth less. When I was 12, I was kept from doing baptisms in the temple after a bishop in his 80s asked me if I masturbate, and then explained to me the mechanics of what that word meant. That was at 12. The next year, when I was still 12 years old, after several months of successive worthiness interviews about whether or not I touched my own body, another predator, my Sunday school teacher, who had recently moved into the ward, keyed into the shame I felt and realized he could use it against me. In other words, your interviews molded me into an easy target. I believed it was my fault when he raped me. At 17, I confided in a young woman's leader I trusted that I had had a miscarriage, and though I did not have the vocabulary or understanding to tell her that the pregnancy had resulted from a relationship that was physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive, she suspected that it had and set up a meeting with the bishop. Before that meeting, she told him she thought I had been raped. During that meeting, he asked me if I had enjoyed the sex. He asked me if I had orgasmed, and in what positions, and how many times. I was 17 years old, still a child, now with more than a decade of sexual abuse history, and I was behind closed doors again with a bishop who felt it was his job to quantify my sexual purity. When he told me he would rather his own 3 daughters dead than without their virtue, I told him I had made the whole thing up. Better to be a liar, I thought. I turned to several more bishops while I was attending singles wards to seek out any measure of the peace that I desperately wanted to believe was possible. By then, I finally understood what consent looked like and that I had not ever given it. One bishop disclosed that he was a survivor himself from early childhood and explained how he had gone through the repentance process to deal with his part of what had happened to him. Just gonna breathe for a minute.
Good.
He suggested I go through the church's addiction recovery program, which I did. Another had me read The Miracle of Forgiveness, asked me invasive questions about specific sexual acts, and revoked my temple recommend. In the course of my life, I have found myself in situations and relationships that were abusive again and again and again because they felt like where I belonged. I've hated myself, I've self-harmed in numerous ways, I've been suicidal. The shape of my life is not just the result of one deviant bishop. The beliefs I've held and am now finally learning to let go of, that I'm worthless, that I deserve the suffering I've experienced, that my life is meant to be endured, they come from a systemic problem. For me, it's been every ward, every bishop, every worthiness interview. When you stand behind the way things are being done as good and right, you are in effect saying that the shame I have felt for as long as I can remember as a direct result is also good and right. Is that really the stance you want to take? That the shame I was taught to feel for being raped as a child before I had reached the age of accountability is mine to bear. If that is what you are intending to say is true, and please hear me when I tell you that your silence speaks volumes, then my question is this: what could I have possibly done to deserve this? If that is not what you believe, though, I have a different set of questions. Why not make the simple changes necessary to make absolutely sure that these things never happen to another child? What do you perceive that you have to lose by doing so? And what makes that thing so valuable that you would be willing to trade my life for it? And she's signing off as Sandy.
Okay. So I hope Sandy watches this. How in the world can we possibly permit this to go on? Sandy, you have great worth. It doesn't matter any of the choices you've made. After all the horrid things that happened to you, not of your own making, you have great worth, my friend. I have had the great privilege, honor, those don't really have the right words, are the right words, convey the right meaning. I've had something, I've been honored to speak for hours on end with this woman, to know her situation, for her finally to take me into her confidence. And I made so many darn mistakes as I was doing that, because I was a neophyte on how to even talk to somebody that's been a victim of abuse. But I hope you feel a huge community of support around you. An apostle of Jesus Christ has stated that he's read your story and that it's tragic. It is tragic. May it be a big part of protecting our children in the future from what happened to you. And I love you. We love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for reading that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
And thank you for writing that long piece. I want to mention something else here.
Hi, Sam.
How you doing?
I just want to say something for
Introduce yourself.
maybe a few
Curtis.
minutes. I'm Curtis. How you guys doing? Up there?
Yes.
I would like to talk to my fellow members for a minute. Here's how I was raised. I was born in Bountiful, Utah. My parents are members. My grandparents were members, and their grandparents, and so on. I was raised from the day I was born to believe in a prophet of God. I was raised to believe that this is the only true church ever. It was restored from what Jesus had. So it's just a break off from what Jesus did, restored. These are all the values that I instilled and loved. I remember singing songs in primary. We thank thee, O God, for a prophet. Another song, he is our bishop. And you're just raised with that your whole entire life. So it is very devastating. What if one of these stories is actually true? What if a man has stepped over the boundaries? Just one. What if one of those innocent little children and future children are going to be sitting in that chair and all they know is to follow the prophet? That is all they know. Sam has tried to go through the proper channels. He's now, everyone who's talked to him said it needs to go higher. A general authority. There's nothing I can do. It's to the 15. He wants somebody who can make a change, and it is the 15. And for members, there's no one else we were taught to speak to. It's our prophet, and we have loved him. I used to love him and believe in him. So it is damaging when it goes prophet down, and then you get asked at 12, like somebody, do you masturbate? And then you are given the miracle of forgiveness, and that thing, after about 4 pages, makes you want to die. So please, I'm pleading with you, in your family prayers tonight, or in anything, just think, is this something you want for your grandchildren? I'm not saying leave the church. That was a choice I made to protect my kids. But just try and see what we're trying to do. That's all kids know, is follow the prophet. Your bishop is a man of God. And when that man crosses the boundaries, they don't know how to say no.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Thank you for all your great support and for your wonderful message. Oh, we getting the sound off? Sound's still working. Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Well, what time is it?
7:41.
7:41. Okay. McKenna?
I feel like
Yes, I really mind.
Do you mind? I feel like every day I have something to say.
I just want to say you need to be careful with this diet.
Because I might say something I don't want to say?
No, the diet, the fast.
Oh, the
Be
fast.
careful of the fast.
The hunger fast?
Yes.
Well, I slept till 3 this afternoon, so
Oh.
I feel
Cool.
wide awake. I'm really angry about hearing Melody's story and Sandy's story.
And I'm angry about your story, my dear.
Well, thank you. But it's just, I don't understand how the general authorities cannot be here, cannot come. The apostles can't come and sit in the chair and answer and say how sorry they are for the victims of the policy that is in place right now. Why can they not come here and say, we agree, it's wrong, we're sorry, we love you, we want you to heal, here's how we can help you heal. It is so wrong for bishops, stake presidents, mission presidents to put you behind closed doors. But it's a grooming process. When we sit with a bishop and we're, I'm really not very emotional, but I'm starting to get emotional, so I have to take a step back. I had some really good bishops. I had some that weren't the best. But it's a grooming process. For me, that's what I found out, is that it's okay to sit behind closed doors with a priesthood holder that you love and admire. And that man may be honorable and not do anything inappropriate, but then the next bishop, or maybe 2 or 3 later, it's instilled in us that we love the Lord, that we love the prophet, we trust the bishop, we trust the stake president. So we're groomed into thinking that being behind closed doors with a priesthood leader is not only safe, but it's perfectly okay. And then we trust that they're not going to ask us things it would be damaging to us, but the questions are spiritually damaging. Ecclesiastical abuse is incredibly damaging. Sexual questions that are inappropriate, you can't undo those questions in your head. Being asked about masturbation before you even know what masturbation is not appropriate. And being raped, where is she? Being raped at 7 years old by your bishop, who the hell thinks that's appropriate or that that's okay? And why can the Quorum of the 12 or the 15 not see that that's really wrong? It's not a one bishop. It's not a one bad apple. It's a series of people in the church. And what happens to those bishops? Nothing. What happened to my mission president who raped me at the MTC? Nothing. So we should not have to be here. We should not have to be having a hunger strike. We should not have to be protecting our future generations, because what's happened should have never happened at all. Okay, before I cry, which I haven't done since I was 5 years old, I will end it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, McKenna. Again. So, when your story came out, the church's first response was to denigrate you.
Yes.
Then, very shortly after that, no, that's good right there. Yeah, it was very shortly after that, another victim came out, or became known that there was another victim that had reported sexual abuse. By Joseph Bishop. Then the church turned around and said, the leadership shares the members' anger over what's happened. And I'm looking at, hallelujah, I'm angry about this. They're angry about it too. And I could finally point to people who said, "Law, Sam's just angry. He shouldn't be angry. Anger is not Christ-like. That's the devil." I can say, no. The leadership, they were angry that there had been multiple victims here. So I've felt the same anger that they have felt over your situation. Okay, so we're going to just mention a couple of things and then close it down unless anybody else has something you want to talk about. Tanner? Tanner, you don't want to be on? I don't know. Do you ever have something? Would you like to address Elder Stevenson?
Now's as good a time as any.
Yes.
Hey, Elder Stevenson. Been a while since premortal existence. Since the last time we met. This practice has got to end. It's just got to go. All is not well in Zion, and I think those at the top should be able to recognize that and humbly recognize that the brethren have been wrong on things before. The history of the church is just rife with the brethren putting their foot in their mouths, and that's, over lots of different things. And sorry if this is not the tone you want to get.
No, we want to stick on our topic.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying,
interviews.
It does take a certain amount of humility to say, we were wrong, and we hear you, and we respect you as members of the collective church. What happened to common consent? What happened to all of us are in this together? This is not just their church, this is all our church, and we, the members of the church, well, you, the members of the church, I'm resigned, have come forward and said, this isn't working for us. It's hurting our children, it's hurting our members. It hurt me growing up. I grew up thinking that I was the worst sinner, that I maybe needed to kill myself because of just natural things that were happening in my body, and I didn't know any better. And so it's just something that, have a little humility, have a little heart, come on down.
We about ready to have a song here?
About to have a song.
All right.
We'll work on one.
Okay.
Workshop one.
Okay, super. Well, thank you very much, my friend.
Oh, you're doing great. If all Mormons had been and were and ever would be like Sam Young, well, there wouldn't be any more ex-Mormons, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you so much for that. So now, so you resigned, and that was, but I'm a Mormon. Yeah. So you and I went through our faith. So I've had a faith transition, and you and I went through that faith crisis pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting to see the direction we took. I'm perfectly okay with you making or resigning. Good for you. You've made a choice that's best for you in your life. I made the choice to stay in the church, and I'm hoping that's the best for me and my family. No, it is the best for me and my family. I love the church. I think we have great things. We need to improve on those. Okay, so thank you very much. What I was going to say is, so I'm still in the church. If you ever want to join my church, I will be glad to baptize you. Okay, so a couple things. I want to apologize because I meant to make this announcement right at the beginning. We want to, when we don't want to be sexually explicit. So, it's the M word as opposed to, I was asked the M word, okay? So we kind of messed that up a little bit tonight. Hopefully you're on top of it, Mom. But we do want to not be sexually explicit here. I would like to encourage you to, well, we've had some requests from parents, the children here, and somebody said, look, my kids are watching this. I would rather not have this come up. I would rather not have that word pronounced.
Not have us explaining or having them Google what it means and look and find pornography.
That's exactly right. Yes, yes. We don't want to be doing what we don't want the bishops to do.
Okay. Good point.
Okay. This last night we finally got everything to work as far as this Templeside chat being on our website and being a good video and pretty darn good sound. Hopefully we've mastered the sound tonight. But yesterday was the first time that it was on the site. We've had 10,000 views. Now, I don't know if that's good or not, but to me, 10,000 sounds like a great number of views. We had 98 shares sometime this morning. Hopefully we've got more shares than that. But I want to encourage you to share these Templeside chats. Make an explanation of what is going on, because it will do nothing but continue and grow. So please share. 10,000 views, that's amazing. Finally, so this is not cast in concrete, but here's what I'm thinking as of this morning. The police were called, we were reported to the police last night because we were blocking the sidewalk. Now people could get by, but still somebody called the police, so the police showed up in force. There were 3 different, it's kind of interesting how it works. One policeman walks up and wow, he's alone, and then you see somebody down there, he then comes, then somebody from the other side comes down. So I'm sure they have logistics for safety purposes, but so they all converged on us, and very pleasant, wonderful people, but they'd gotten a call that there was a disturbance on the street, a protest on the street that was causing a disturbance. Well, as soon as they saw it, they said, well, this is no problem. But I assured them we were going to make sure we did not obstruct the view here. But here's the challenge. There's a possibility that we'll have a lot of people here, particularly for President Nelson. So what I'm looking at doing is on Sunday, the August the 12th, moving this to an inside venue for President Nelson. That would, and doing it earlier in the day, like noon or something. So that would give people the opportunity all across the state to come join this meeting. And what really prompted me to do this, I had 2 people that said they would be interested in flying in for this, but would there be a more convenient thing than if we had a meeting at 7 o'clock at night on a Wednesday or any time at night. And besides that, the police being here, I decided, yeah, I think I'm gonna go for this. So if you're considering coming to a Templeside chat with an apostle, you might want to consider looking at August the 12th, where we'll do it probably around noon and in a venue that I'll announce later on, so that we can have a ton of people there and a ton of people that have concerns, people that have been harmed, people that have been hurt, and hopefully we'll have a president of the church there to make a real apology. It's kind of interesting on this apology. Somebody called Public Affairs today and concerned about nobody wants to meet with Sam Young, no apostles. And this person was told an apostle has already met with Sam. I said, no, they didn't. And they were also told that the President Nelson has already made an apology for this. He did it at a youth fireside. Now the public affairs guy couldn't give us the reference to when the apology was made, But hey, I think that might be cool. But here's an opportunity for President Nelson to meet with a ton of survivors and victims and concerned parents to further the healing amongst our community. Okay, that's all I've got. What time is it?
7:54.
7:54. Hey, well, we did pretty good.
222 people are watching.
Okay, 222. It'll be 10,000 by the end of the night. Kind of cool how that works. Okay, so tomorrow night, our next apostle, we will see you then, 7 o'clock or a few minutes earlier. Sure.
We love the members of the church. We love the families, the children, and we don't want to destroy your faith or testimony. If staying in the church is your ideal, that's wonderful. We want to protect the good name of the church. We want to protect the children, and we think we can do all of that. Just saying.
Super. I totally agree with that one. Have a great night.